Deadline day in America as politicians try to thrash out a budget deal before midnight. The body of a pub landlord suspected of stealing money from a Christmas fund is found in the sea. More rain makes 2012 one of the wettest ever. We hear from the family who was stranded in this house for a week. Hillary Clinton health scare, the US Secretary of State under observation in hospital with a blood clot. Facebook alert, the garbled online message which helped save a woman's life. And Happy New Year, the world begins to welcome in 2013.
This is Sky News with Colin Brazier.
Hello there and good evening. Politicians in America are just hours away from a deadline to strike a deal which would avert a new package of austerity measures coming into effect tomorrow. Despite days of talks, there is still no deal to avoid what's being called the fiscal cliff. Without an agreement by midnight, a package of tax rises and spending cuts will be introduced, which could push America back into recession. From Maryland, Neil Patterson reports.
It's a sparkle mine, it's a spumante.
In the city of Annapolis, shoppers stock up on the essentials before the New Year celebrations. But amidst the festive cheer, a large measure of concern. As in neighbouring Washington, the politicians, most likely in need of a stiff drink, struggle to find a way of avoiding the looming fiscal cliff.
Long term, I'm a small businessman. 60% of my customers are either federal, state, or county employees, and I estimate another 20% are contractors and people that live off of those employees. It's going to be just like 2009. People will trade down and they're going to tighten up.
There can't be many places in the world where you find a $6,000 bottle of whiskey in the local bottle shop. America is clearly a prosperous nation. However, it has been through the economic ringer and has only recently found its feet. Plunging over that fiscal cliff really could put it all at risk. As of tomorrow, there will be tax hikes for all bands of income. Low earners currently pay income tax of 10% and higher earners 35%. They will both go up by around 5% to 15% and nearly 40%. Then, over the coming months, there will also be across-the-board departmental spending cuts. Defence will be hardest hit, with a 9.4% slash to their budget. The combination of tax hikes and spending cuts would cut the US deficit by $600 billion. But economists are warning that could wipe as much as 4% off America's GDP at a time when growth, not recession, is in order. As the Senate resumed and discussions continued, politicians maintained that despite their differences, a solution could be found. Progress is being made in the margins, yet a deal acceptable to a Democratic Senate and a Republican House of Representatives is still out of reach.
There are a number of issues in which the two sides are still apart, but negotiations are continuing as I speak. But we really are running out of time. Americans are still threatened with a tax hike in just a few hours. Hope we can keep in mind, and I know we will, that our single most important goal is to protect middle-class families.
The markets have not reacted terribly dramatically, despite Capitol Hill's prevarication. Yet, despite traders putting a brave face on what has already been a pretty traumatic year, if in the longer term a solution to the cliff isn't found, the rest of the world will feel the effects.
The global impact will be very significant, particularly if the bit of the fiscal cliff package to do with ordinary consumers' tax rate rising from 10% to 15% goes ahead. That will mean that the average US family will have about $2,000 less in their pocket next year. It's about £1,200 or £1,300. And that's an awful lot of people, and that's an awful lot of spending power that will be withdrawn from the world economy.
The inability of Congress to reach agreement is unlikely to have an immediate effect on those attending New Year celebrations. But if, when the bell tolls midnight, no deal has been done, 2013 begins with America facing an uncertain economic future.
Let's speak to Neil in Washington. Neil, a very good day to you. Feverish talks, looming deadline and high stakes indeed.